Good evening and welcome to the first episode of the Bearded Way of Life. I'm here tonight with my good friend and master barber at Burns Barbershop, Mr. Wayne Daws.
How you doing?
Thank you very much for coming on tonight, Wayne.
You're more than welcome.
And first of all, do you want to introduce yourself and talk about why you wanted to come on tonight?
Yeah, I'm Wayne. I'm the manager at Burns, soon to be announced as Burns Salon in Lee Grave. Also salon director. So for our other branches we're opening. When I found out what you were doing, I wanted to come on more fact because I think men's health is a lot bigger issue than it's portrayed. I think, after 20 years of doing hair, I started off as a hairdresser, I moved over to barbering, getting to know customers, and you find that a lot of men have similar issues. How they've got to that issue might be a different journey of how they got there. And I find a lot of men are quite they open up to me because it's a half-hour, 45-minute appointment where I'm not a friend really, I'm not a family member, I'm not a relative, and they feel that they can, after you get comfortable with someone, they start to feel that they can open up. And you start to realise that, men in general don't really feel that they have that many people to talk to. So when they sit there and actually open up and talk to me as their barber, it's quite an honour. It's an issue that needs to be more addressed so that it's not just their barber or a doctor or that one family member that they can open up to, so that's more the reason why. And you asked.
Do you know, it's really interesting actually, you say about men using barbers as a place to be able to talk and to open up. I was talking with a friend of mine the other day and he said when he goes to his barber, one of the two things he'll do is he'll either sit there chatting away to his barber and he'll come out of there and he'll feel really revitalised, or he finds himself nodding off to sleep if he's had a particularly tough week.
We get that quite often. You get them, they're either just relaxed because for that half an hour or 45 minutes, you're not worried about paying bills. You're not worried about Mrs.'s car's playing up. You're not worried about what the kids are doing or the school reports or anything like that. So it's that time to yourself. So if there are any problems or you've got issues, you tend to open up because I suppose it's like going to the gym of certain aspects where you're on your own, you're listening to your music and you just relax. The difference is you're not talking to anyone. Same as with a haircut, you're sitting there and you're chilling out. I mean, you're getting what you want. The bottom line is you're paying for a trip. You want to look good for this or that. Or you're going to, regardless, it's the fact that you're sitting there for that half an hour, that 45 minutes with someone but you don't at the same aspect. Then, like I said, for as much as I've gained some really good people, some really good friends out of doing this, but there is that element of I don't know him at the same time, but I know him well enough that I'm just myself. You're not being judged, because and then it's like the more and more you find out that not only, especially being a male barber, that half the issues that people do open up about, there's elements where you think, yeah, I've done that, or I've been there, or I've had that low moment, or I've had that time where it's just like, who do I talk to? You don't want to, you've got to think for years as a male, you've been told, man up, you're a man now, you're this, you're that. So you don't necessarily tap into your emotions as much as you'd like to, because it's not the manly thing to do. And then when you've got someone that can relate to what you've been through, without looking less masculine to your family members or your missus or your friends, you just find yourself, you open up, that person relates to it or it's some sort of line or some sort of aspect, and you just find it easier just to unload. So then when you walk out, you're just like, oh yeah, my trim's fresh. But that's all you think about. You don't realise that you're sitting there like, why do I feel so good? Is my haircut that good? It possibly could be, but it's the fact that there's that built-up tension that you've just been like, I've had the roughest week at work. I'm not getting on with my missus. My kids are driving me mental. I don't want to be a burden and go home like after sitting there doing a week's worth of work, having a really tough week, feeling the pressure. But then I go in and you sort of like, I think most men can relate to where you're walking from a week's worth of work. Your missus has cooked your meals every day. She's done the washing. She's looked after the kids, and then she goes, "Are you all right?" And you'll turn around and you go, yeah, I'm all right. Because you don't want to be a burden. Where you come here, you're not a burden. You're just having your hair cut. So you feel you can release, like you can just be like, fine, it's out. I've let go of it. I can then go on. I feel great. My haircut's amazing. It's not necessarily just your haircut. It's the fact that you've let go of all those worries and you've started again from fresh. You're like, yeah, good to go now. And that's how I feel because that's how I am when I have my haircut. If I ever fall asleep or I will just waffle on about like what's maybe bothering me or what's not, because I don't want to burden people with my life. Which the problem is, and it's only since being with Nush actually, that I've realised that it's not a burden. You know, being with the right person and stuff like that. Not that that's her job. She should be like, that's not the reason I'm with her, you know, but it's being with someone who's like you, where I'm no longer, I don't feel like a burden.
Yeah.
But I still feel a lot of men feel that like, I don't want to let go. I don't want to tell my mum or my brother or my auntie or my missus because you don't want a burden. Come to the barber shop, you're not. Because I've only got you for half hour. You can tell me what you want. I'm not here to judge you. In fact, I can relate to half of it. Yeah, no, I understand. Job done. You go out and you're like, it is like a breath of fresh air.
No, definitely. And I think you hit the nail on the head 100% there. And I think mine and your friendship is sort of a prime example of that. You know, we met in 2019 when this place had just sort of opened. And before we knew it, lockdown arrived.
Yeah, no.
You know, and without any human interaction, any contact for so long, coming out of lockdown, I think you were probably the first human face-to-face experience I'd had.
Yeah, because you just generally get on. You know, you do. As I said, you can relate to. I see 60, 70 blokes a week. You know, from different colours, creeds, race, sizes, short, tall. You know, everyone's got a different story, but you learn that you relate to a lot of people, and then as it gets easier, you build bonds and friendships. You know. Like I have clients like yourself where it's gone past friendship. They're more than just pals now. You know,
yeah.
They can call. Like I've got friends that will call, will message, and it's can you do this? Can you help me out? And it might not necessarily be a trip. And you're like, yeah, of course, because as I said, not only is it that I feel that people talk to their barber, I get to the point where I talk to them as well. You know, well I will talk to them at the same time. You just think, and it's nice having that person to talk to.
Yeah.
You know, so.
No, exactly that. You know, and you look, for example, 2021, when I was going through the shit that I was going through, you know, I sat there at home, cooped up, not knowing who to turn to, not knowing who to speak to. And one of the few people that did listen to me and did understand and, you know, appreciate where I was coming from was you.
Yeah.
You know, and if it wasn't for the likes of yourself and a few other people, I don't even know if I'd have gone through that stage of life because it was so overpowering. But like you say, you feel like whenever you turn to anyone, you're just going to be a burden.
Mm.
But you were there and you were supportive and you were understanding of it all. And I think 2021 was really the epitome of where mine and your friendship sort of blossomed.
Yeah.
And led on from there, really.
I think it's because you don't judge. I'll judge you by your hair. If you've gone out and had your hair cut from someone else and it's horrendous, I'll tell you that. But I don't think there's any case scenario that someone can talk to me and I'm just like, oh, you're a bad person.
Yeah.
Or you're this or you're that. You know, like I went through a breakup with my previous and you know, and it was more, I remember doing a school runs for my older kids and it'd be the middle of summer and I'd have my hood up and I'd have a beanie hat on and I'd just be like, I just didn't want to interact because you're the bloke and you're taught from a young age, like as I said, man up. Now be a man about it. Oh, you're getting older, you've got to be a man about it. So to show sort of any emotion, it's unheard of. And well, you know what it's like as well, being a bloke and going for a breakup. Instantly, it's your fault. You're the man. You've done something wrong. You know, you can't just grow apart. You can't just become a different person. You're he's a bloke. He's done this. He's done that. And like I said, like you feel that you're a burden to people, so you don't want to. You don't want to talk, as I said, because it's ingrained for you. I remember when my dad passed away. It was just before I was 21, and it wasn't even my mum, but my sisters had already moved out. They were living with their partners, and I can't remember who said it, but the first thing was like, "You're the man of the house now," which then in turn you get that instinct to be like, well, I can't be emotional, I can't be upset, I can't grieve, I can't cry, I can't be angry. I'm not allowed to because I'm now the man. I've got to make sure everything's all right. I've got to make sure my mum's doing okay. I've got to do this. So you have to, and I think that's the problem because it's now escalated to the point where a lot of men will just push their emotions and everything else to the side. and they don't know how to express themselves. Because again, it's always comes across as it's not manly to.
Yeah.
Where, like I said, with the missus at home now, if I'm upset, or if I'm angry, or if something's wound me up, or I've not had a good day, I don't shun it to the side anymore. I don't. I've learned over the years, and I think it comes with age and being with the right person and having the right people around you. If someone does bother you and someone goes, "Are you all right?" It's okay. It's actually more than okay to turn around and say, "No, I'm not all right." And the fact is, all right isn't enough.
Yeah.
Why is it? Why should all right be enough? It's not enough. Why should every bloke out there not want their fairy tale ending? It's perceived that women are like, they go out there. You're a princess, and from a princess you become a queen. But you never said, well, you're a prince, and you can become a king. You can be the happy ending to your story. It's always portrayed. It's always like portrayed that you've got to be the happy ending to someone else's story.
Yeah.
All the time, and you just think, and it's now, like I said, it's now got to the point where, especially with men's health, like their mental health now, after years of being pushed and you've got to do this and you've got to be the man and you've got to be that, we've just suppressed all these feelings and these emotions now to where you can't express yourself. It's not manly. You've got to be there. You've got to be there for everyone else. Well, what about yourself?
Yeah.
I learned, especially after my man died, that you cannot make anybody else happy unless you're happy. You have to be happy. So you have to be selfish. And not to the point where it's like, no, I ain't doing this, no, I ain't doing that. No, do that yourself. I'm not talking about being rude, but there has to be an element where you have to go and get what you want. Because if you don't, this is why men's health, especially mental health now, is such a massive issue. To the point now where, if you look at stats, the amount of young people, not just men, not just boys, girls, like youth, people, anyone under the age of 25 have got anxiety.
Yeah.
Because, you're not allowed to be, you have to be doing all right. You have to be excelling. You're not allowed to fail anymore. But you're not allowed to express it if you're struggling. I am struggling. It's okay to not be okay. It's okay not to be all right. Then, when you get you get the aspect of, I'm not all right. I need help. And where do I get that help from? Who do I talk to? I'm allowed to talk to someone. I'm allowed to ask.
Yeah.
We're not. It's been for years, from your dad to your granddad to his dad to his granddad and all that. There was an element where you're the man. You're the breadwinner, for instance. You've got to look after missus and kids. You've got to do this. You've got to make sure the cars are all right. You've got to make sure everything in the house is done. You don't. You're allowed to share that. You're allowed to sit there. You're allowed to be like, it's too much. I can't do this. I can't do this. It's like if you do ask for help, it's like it's seen as like a real negative response, or it's not. It's like the word no. Everyone looks at no as a negative, but it doesn't have to be.
No,
you might be tired. You might have had a terrible week at work. You might just can't be bothered. Doesn't mean you don't want to do something. You're just not doing it then. So say no. Express how you feel. But a lot of men, we don't. And then especially when you get to that stage of being a dad, or an uncle, and having nieces and nephews, again, you're portraying that you have to be that man. So, are you upset? No, I'm all right. Are you this? No, I'm all right. And then you wonder why kids nowadays are like that. They're pushed up in somewhere. They've got anxiety because they don't know how to express, like, I can't do this. I don't want to fail, but I don't want to tell anyone that I can't do this. It's a vicious cycle. So for as much as mental health now, especially for men, is going through the roof, you've got to think in the next 10 years, it won't just be men, it'll be everybody, because people will stop expressing themselves. And it's not right.
You hit the nail on the head there absolutely perfectly, point perfect. And it's that big thing. As a man, you never want to feel like you failed. You never want to feel like you've let anybody down or somebody's had to rely on you. And there was a podcast I was watching the other day, actually, and the guy was talking and he was saying that, again, his father had died. He was in a similar situation to you. And, they were on the lead up to the funeral. A member of his family turned around and said to him, you're the man of the house now. You need to be strong. You need to put a brave face on. You need to support everybody else. He said, and I sat there and thought, why?
Mm.
It's my dad that's died.
That's
I
it.
should be able to grieve. I should be able to show my emotions.
And you've got to think on that aspect as well. So, for as much as I met your parents and they've got that, but you've got to remember, so your dad passes before your mum in many years to come, right? You've got to remember, your mum chose to love that person. So there's always going to be that bond there. But you didn't have that choice. You loved that man unconditionally from day one. You know, he was literally, for many years, he was God in your eyes. Then obviously you become a tearaway, probably a little bit of a bellend, but then you move forward and then you come back and, you know, that was your go-to. That was your role model until you started liking certain things or certain sports. And then you've now just lost that man. But in the moment that you've lost him, you've got to look after everyone else. It's not right.
No, exactly that. And, you know, my dad will be watching this, so he already knows. I absolutely idolise my dad and worship the ground he walks on. And the one thing I never want to hear out of his mouth is I'm disappointed.
Yeah, of course.
It kills you as a man because you think, no, I'm the guy here, I'm the man.
Yeah.
I should be able to do this. I should be able to hold my own.
Yeah. But you shouldn't have to.
No.
You shouldn't have to hold your own.
But you do.
And that's because your dad was taught a certain way, and his dad before him, and his dad before him. Because, you know, I remember I lost my dad before I was 21, and I remember asking my mum, because every bloke in my household has been a lorry driver. We don't know where I got the hairdressing aspect from. I didn't want to do it. I just didn't want to drive along. I never did. And I remember it was literally a couple of days after me, and I was like, was Dad ever proud of me? Mum was like, what? I was like, there's one thing. I was like, Mum, I don't know why, but it's bad. Dad never told me. And as you said, it just wasn't a manly thing to do. Well, why isn't it? Yeah. Why are you not allowed? Why are we as a society now, you know, I think especially in the UK, where, you know, you're not allowed to show emotion for absolutely anything because it's unmanly.
Yeah. See, I am really lucky. My dad's, you know, you've met him, you know what it's like. He's always been very supportive. He will constantly be telling me, I'm really proud of you, son. Keep doing what you're doing. Like, I'm so proud of you.
Yeah.
He's been very emotional like that. His dad, though, my granddad, up until his deathbed, I'd never heard those words from his mouth. You know,
because it was a different generation. It wasn't that he wasn't. It was just a different generation.
No, exactly. And when he was dying, he actually refused to speak to me to begin with.
Wow.
Because he was like, I know what Sam's going to say. I don't want to hear it. You know, he doesn't need to apologise. He doesn't need to tell me what he's done wrong. He's learned from it. He's changed. He's grown as a person, and I'm proud of the person he's becoming.
Yeah.
But it was amazing to hear.
But you heard it secondhand.
And I wanted to hear it before then. And it was secondhand because it was COVID, because I couldn't be there at the time. It was so difficult to hear. And I've always struggled because I admired my granddad like anything. You know, again, another man, I worship the ground he walked on.
Yeah.
And to not be able to hear that myself, like face to face, because again, like I said, it was COVID. It was so difficult. And even now, you know, it's been coming up for 3 years since he died.
Yeah.
And I still cling on to that. I still wish I'd heard them words out of his mouth myself, because it would have just changed so much. But again, it comes down to that whole stigma and, you know, that thing of you can't express yourself as
You're not a man.
Yeah.
You're not a man.
No.
But you are.
Yeah.
What's wrong with, you know, if you're that upset of crying your eyes out? If you're upset, you're just showing emotion.
Yeah.
Doesn't make you any less of a man. Doesn't make you, you know, you're not hard or you're not this or you're not that. You're just showing emotion. But I think, and as I said, you know, it's been over the last sort of 50 years, you've been taught to suppress that. And it gets knocked down from generation to generation to generation.
Yeah.
You know, it's like my son's 13 now, and, you know, he's a boisterous kid. He gets in trouble at school and all that lot. And they'll give him detention, or they'll have this, or they'll have that. And then they'll phone me up and expect me to discipline him. And I'm not going to.
No.
Why am I going to shout at him? Why am I going to have a go at him? And they're like, yeah, but I'll talk to him. And I'll talk to him like a human being. And I'll find out the reason why. Well, what's me shouting at him going to do? Because he's just going to shut up like any kid does, especially being a boy. You know, probably call me names when I'm not in the room. But I'm not going to get to the bottom of it. I want my children to be able to show emotion. You know, I want my kids to say, "Oh, I love you, Dad. I love you too, mate." You know, I want my 13-year-old to still give me a hug because he's not too. I'm too old for that. I'm grown now. I'm bad man. Don't hug. No, why would I want that?
Yeah.
Why would I not want, you give me a hug, tell me, like, I love you, Dad. Cool. What's the problem? Oh, I want him to be able to open up and talk to me.
Yeah.
But again, it's just, as I said, it's knocked down from generation. You're not allowed to.
No, it's that whole societal view, that you can't be like that and you can't express your emotion like that.
No.
And if you look, certainly like the criminal system, you look at the vast majority of men in our prisons at the minute, the vast majority have grown up in a fatherless home.
Yeah.
So they've constantly seeked out that affirmation from the father figure.
Yeah.
And not being able to express that emotion causes a lot of issues.
Yeah. Because all they do is they look for, you look at gangs and groups of people and stuff like that when, they're not getting that emotional attachment or having that figure. They look for that group, and there'll always be what they class as an alpha male in that group who is road, bad man, don't take nothing from no one, got the best trainers, got the right tracksuit, wears the right man bag, always got a wad of cash, and they'll use that as an emotional connection. But there's no emotion to it, because that person don't care about you. You cost him money, then you're his worst enemy.
Yeah, exactly that.
But you then start looking up to that person, and you're then, how do I impress that person? I don't want my children to impress me. I say to Hayden all the time, so kids nowadays, especially with boys, like, he worries that he's stupid at school because certain things he won't understand. Where I've explained to him, you've got tests, you've got an exam, you've got something that you need to do at school. And as long as you try, that's all I worry about. You put your effort into it. If you get 30% out of 100, don't matter. Yeah, but they don't see it like that. I do. Yeah. Because that's own your 30%. Be happy about your 30%. Right, it's not the result you wanted, but if you put your all into it and you come away with a small margin of what you wanted, that's yours to own. You can work on that. You're allowed to, and this again comes back to, you are allowed to fail. Because we all learn from our mistakes. And that's what I think a lot of people forget. That we do you remember when you first started work? Like your first ever job, regardless if it was in a corner shop or a newspaper round, and the first time you did something wrong, like really wrong.
Oh, yeah.
And your boss went at you like there was no tomorrow. Like he proper went mental, like you thought he's going to whip me. Like it was that bad. It was how we reacted. You took it on the chin, and then you went home, you thought about it, and you were like, I don't want to get spoken to like that again. You've got one or two options. You don't go back to work, or you learn from your mistakes. Yeah. And we learn from our mistakes. I didn't take it personally. I took it as, oh my God, I've done something really wrong. I don't want to get spoken to like that again. I've got an idea. I'm not going to act like that. And you went back to work, you saw your boss. All right, mate. Yeah, no problem. How you doing? Yeah, good. Let's get a good day's work today. All right, no problem. Yeah. And you moved forward. Whereas I said, it's been that many years of being suppressed, your emotions and stuff like that, where they don't feel that they can fail because they can't learn from their mistakes. Yeah. So it's another emotion that they're suppressing to the point where you will find half of these children that will go from anxiety to straight out depression because it's like, who do I talk to? Yeah. I can't fail. I'm not allowed to. And I mean, a lot of it you've got to think as well, especially nowadays, is social media related. You know what I mean? You've got people that, fair enough, they're doing well, but when you've got a 21-year-old driving a Lamborghini who's bought their mum a 7-bedroom mansion and you don't know how they got there, you're like, I want that. No. You're going to get a Corsa with plastic bumpers on for your first car. Maybe a Peugeot 206 that you're going to hang. Yeah. No, exactly. You're not going to get but that's all right. You're allowed to do that. And that's what we all started. Yeah, because it's yours. Own that. Yeah. Be proud of what you do. Show your, again, I think it's a lot again for you've got to man up, you've got to suppress this, you've got to suppress that. But it's not working. No. Not after, you've got to think, 50 years of it now, it's now coming to a head where, regardless of how much money you earn or how successful you are doing this or doing that, when you feel that it's never enough and you don't know how to express it, it's just another emotion you're pushing to the side. And people it crumbles, it breaks you. And that's half the trouble. You mentioned it a couple of times. You're constantly chasing something. Nowadays, it's swapping a lot more over to social media. People are chasing stuff they're seeing online, chasing people they're seeing, chasing that Lamborghini, buying that 7-bedroom house for their mum. They're not seeing the actual reality of it, and
even the truth sometimes. You know, there's people out there, some quite influential people, and the life that they portray is nothing like the actual life they
No,
lead.
of course not. It's all fake.
But they don't see that. But even going back to my generation and your generation of blokes and men, you know, there was always that thing, and it's bred into you from when you're a kid, that you always are going to give your own kids that much better life than what you had.
Yeah.
You know, and from my perspective, and I'm sure you're the same, my parents gave me a fantastic life when I was a kid.
Oh, yeah, of course. I love my childhood.
I had absolutely everything I could ask for. You know, they were fantastic parents. They were supportive. They were always there for me. I sit there as a man, because of society's views, you have to one up your parents and think, right, shit, what have I got to do to give my kids that better life?
Do you find it though there's a real grey area between trying to give your kids absolutely everything though, and there's always now, especially nowadays, there's that slight hint of I have to be careful what I do with my kids as well.
Yeah.
Because I remember being young, and we grew up in a council estate in Barnet, which I loved it. We didn't have doors. No one had door keys. You just push the door open. But when we were really young, summer barbecue, paddling all day, no clothes.
Yeah.
No one cared. You were all neighbours. Everyone knew you just run around as kids. Now, as much as I want to up my parents and give my kids more, there's elements where you think I need to keep my distance at the same time, which is really upsetting, because how it's portrayed, like how people might see it. You know, all my kids, it's mental.
Yeah.
Have got mousy blonde hair, like darker blonde hair.
Yeah.
You know, so if it's just me with my children, you will look at it like, is that his?
Yeah.
You know, you can see that they're mine. It's ridiculous. The Daws gene is strong. There's an element to where you think, my daughter's now 10. She's, bless her, she's now slowly developing into a woman. So you don't want to, because I find it upsetting, but for as much as you're trying to give them more, you're trying to stay a little bit, because you don't want people to look at you in a certain way or a certain light as well. So again, it's something else that as a man, because it's men. Your missus can sit there and throw your kids about and hold their hands and do whatever. It's mental. But then again, it's men having to suppress another emotion because of how society might see it. You know? No,
exactly that. And it's a really interesting point to make, actually. A friend of mine, he's got two daughters. He's got a 12-year-old daughter and he's got a 1.5-year-old daughter. He is absolutely terrified to the point where he won't do it, of changing his youngest daughter's arse.
Yeah.
Because he's worried what other people are going to think.
I remember when I had my daughter, it took me ages to actually sit there. I'm going to have to change it. I'm going to have to bath her. She can jump in the bath with me.
Yeah.
Where that was a real boundary to break.
See, even that, my daughter's 2.5 and 2 years old now. If I'm in the bath with them, I'll still wear a pair of pants.
Yeah.
Because I'm terrified, not that anybody's ever going to walk into my house, but I'm terrified of somebody else's perception and how they're going to view that.
Again, it's another emotion that you're suppressing. Where before, like as kids, you had a sister and you were both of similar age or not that far, your mum threw you both in the bath. There was nothing wrong with it.
Yeah.
You didn't care. You're just having a bath as a kid. Your daughter's not going to see the fact that you're a male in the bath. She's not going to. She's just in the bath having a good time with daddy, which is weird, But we'll sit there and be like, I need a pair of pants, I need a flannel, I need to sit up at one end, sit up straight and keep her at length from my leg. Like, you stay down there, it's fine, Or you'll clean your child, but you'll only clean them to a certain aspect where you're like, you have to get your missus involved,
Well, even down to, you look at the press last year surrounding David Beckham for kissing his daughter on the lips. How many times do you see celebrities, influencers, members of the public kissing their kids on the lips?
Yeah, of course.
And it's never flagged up.
There was one that, and it's funny because Nush was pregnant at the time, so her emotions were high, and there was a video of Jason Momoa at a film thing, and somebody edited. It worked out because I said, "There's no way." It was actually a 7.5-minute video edited to 35 seconds, and it looked like he was touching a girl inappropriately. Funny thing is, no one clocked it was his daughter, and all he was doing was hugging his daughter. But again, now as a man, he had the right footage, and obviously being in the public eye, didn't need to explain himself. Did it well. As an everyday run-of-the-mill bloke, you're sitting there hugging your daughter over the park, and someone sees it as inappropriate because your child might not have the same colour hair as you or something like that. Again, you suppress another emotion, but not only are you suppressing it for yourself, there's then a build up of, and it is pressure. You build up, it will make you ill. But now you're not showing the right emotions to your daughter, who then will then grow up with anxiety because she wasn't shown enough love as a child.
And even away from that, from like a dad to a daughter relationship, even a dad to a son, unless you are running around the park playing football with your son, if you're running around acting a twat, climbing on,
You're looked at funny.
you're looked at and you're judged.
Yeah.
And why? You're running around spending time with your kids. And in a society where people are saying dads should be more present, dads should be at home more, they should be working.
You're not allowed because it's weird if a man does it.
Exactly that.
And this is why I think there is a bigger issue now with men's health, because, as I said, it's not what we do, it's what we don't do. And what we don't do is we don't show enough affection. We don't cry when we need to cry. We don't show those emotions. You're not allowed to.
No.
As a man, you're not allowed to. Then it gets to the point like this where you think, okay, now I need support because you've spent years building up these suppressed emotions, and you're just not allowed to express them. You're not.
No.
And it still comes back down to the old rule of thumb of man up.
Yeah.
Do this, do that. Why? What makes you less of a man for loving your daughter?
Exactly that.
It
makes you more of a man.
What makes you less of a man if you go through some real shit and you sit home and cry your eyes out?
Yeah.
And you talk to your pal about it. A real friend or a real partner or a real missus, they'll sit there and they'll accept that. They'll support you because that's what they're there for. You support them. They'll support you. But you also, and again, it goes back to, you don't want to burden anyone with it. So you hold it all in and it all builds up, and then you hit your late 30s, and all of a sudden it can escalate to the point where you're having suicidal thoughts because you think, what's the point of being here anymore? I can't do this, I can't do that. Or you start doubting yourself. I'm not a man. I'm not the right man. Am I man enough for you? I've asked my missus before, am I man enough for you? Am I this and that? Because you sit there and you think, and it took me a while to literally think, because I don't want it to be like anything I've had before. I don't want to be able to not express myself to her.
Yeah.
I don't want to. If I'm not all right, I want to be able to tell her. And it's funny because Nush will be the first person. Nush is like, it's funny when we got married in church down there, and we become part of the church, and we've got the son Chris, and we've got that, and we go every now and then, as when we can, because I've been pregnant. And I like going to church. Now, I said from day one, I don't know what I fully believe, and I don't.
Yeah.
I was like, but if I can go somewhere for 45 minutes. Get a free cup of coffee, big breakfast, get a bacon sandwich, it's mental in church. And you can just come out feeling like a better person, then why not? And I remember Grace, asking me about, who do I turn to? Would you turn to Jesus? And I literally said to her, Nush is my Jesus. And they were like, what? And they looked at us like, Nush is my God. She's the first person that I know that if there is something wrong or something bothering me, I'll turn to her. I'm not judged. I'm not judged on my past. I'm not judged on my present. I'm allowed to be me. I can be silly. I can say stupid stuff. She knows I'm a bit of a dick, and she'll be the first person to tell me, but she doesn't judge me. She just thinks it's funny.
Yeah.
So when I need to turn to someone, there is that release. I can just I'm allowed on the line. Yeah, I'm not all right. I don't feel great. Or, I'm not happy about this. And she's the first person to talk. And she'll calm me down. And she'll make me see the silver lining to the scenario or the situation. She'd be like, you don't have to be all right, but how do we change that? How do we make you all right? How do we do this?
Yeah.
It's good having that person. And it might not be your missus, it might be your mum. I talk to my mum all the time. It's mad, I talk like once a week. She calls Thursdays, Wednesdays now, because I'm away to pick the kids up from school, day off. I talk to mum, and it'd be an hour of just ranting. And it's not even like having a mum, it's like having a mate, And she'll always say, are you all right? And where in my younger days, I'd be like, yeah, fine. Even, you'd say, yeah, you're fine, but all of a sudden, you'd deepen your voice.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have your
puff your chest out.
Yeah, I'm all right, mum. Yeah. Even though she's on the phone, she can't see her. Yeah, I'm all right. I'm cool, mum. Yeah, no, sound. Where, now if I'm not, are you all right? No, I'm not. What's the matter? This is bothering me. All right. What would you want to do? Do you want some help? Do you want this? Do you want that? No. You know what? I've got it in hand. I'm just not all right. And it's learning to communicate. It took me, I'm 40 now, so it's taken me the last 35 years to actually be like, all right, take a step back. I don't want to ruin a relationship, first of all, with anybody, mum, friend, anybody, by not being able to express myself. because I'll lie. You'll lie about being all right. You'll lie about, yeah, I'm fine. I'm lying. Nothing's bothering me. And then all that will happen is it will blow up, and then you'll have a row because there's a towel on the floor.
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
then your missus will walk out, and you'll be like, "What did I have that row about?"
Yeah.
I didn't have an issue with her. I didn't mean to upset my mum. What it was I wasn't all right when they first asked, and I didn't know how to express it.
And correct me if you think differently, but I think that's the biggest way to facing men's mental health head on is with things like this. With my coaching program, with other podcasts, with men's groups, getting people talking about their mental health.
Oh, 100%. I think it's the only way that you're going to, because it's like, it is a massive release.
Yeah.
And just being able to, finding the right platform where, again, like we said, like from that young age of being a man and all that, like, you don't want to, it's hard work learning to talk to the people around you sometimes. It's not as easy as, like I said, it took me till I was 35 to know that I'm not going to go down that route of suppressing stuff. And it was weird the first time, like being able to tell your missus, "No, I'm not right." "Yeah, mum, you all right?" "Yeah." "You a bit down?" "Yeah, I am." It was weird. It didn't come natural. So having platforms like this, having places where you can go, you can talk, let's be honest, your Instagram page, if someone wanted to just message you without their name, you could literally make your own Instagram up and a different name. And it's someone to talk to, and then that could be your best mate that you don't even realise because they put a picture up of Messi. They're like, "I'm Messi fan, so and so." So you think he's just a footballer, but it could be your best mate. But he's just like, "I want to talk to you.
Yeah.
I know I'll get the response I want, but I don't." But that platform is there, and I think it's not going to be. It's not an easy task. It's not an easy process to be able to just, "I'm going to go home tonight and I'm going to say to the missus, 'No, I ain't all right,' and it not turn into a row." Because she's not going to be happy that you didn't feel that you could talk to her. It is a slow process. So having platforms like this where you think, "I can talk, I can listen, I'm valued, I can be listened to."
Yeah.
Because that's the difference. We're always taught you should listen. Listen, pay attention, listen. But you never talk to, when you're allowed to talk as well. People will pay attention. People will value what you've got to say, good or bad. You are valued.
You're always going to piss somebody off.
You're always going to, every time. I try to piss off someone at least once a day. It's just more fun. But people need to understand that you are valued.
Yeah.
And everything you've got going on, first of all, you're not the only person. Everyone's got some sort of demon that they're battling. It is 100%. It is true. And you might have got to the point where, I don't find anything really bothers me that much anymore. I don't let it build up to.
Yeah.
So it never turns from a small issue to a big issue. If it's a small issue, but then Nush is the same now. Like my missus is 100%. If there's a small issue, she'll just tell me, "I need this, I want this, or that." So instead of building on it or sitting on it, "All right, cool, let's do it. Let's get this. You want it done? Let's go."
No, exactly.
Let's do that.
Every single big issue you come across in life, break it down into individual sections. Every small section then is achievable.
Yeah, of
it's
course.
solvable. And like you were just saying then, acceptance is one of the biggest ways to deal with issues, mental health, life in general. You accept there's an issue, there's something wrong. How can I deal with this?
Yeah.
What can I do about it? What's the next step? Setting yourself that routine to get yourself out of it.
Yeah, I think also there's part of it. So as soon as you've accepted that, how do I get out there? How do I do this? You need to also accept that you are valued.
Yeah.
Your opinion is valued. Your problem is valued. Someone will listen. It might not necessarily be the person you want to listen or pay attention to, or it might not be the person you want to turn to. But that doesn't mean that should stop you in your path.
No.
There are, you can Google, you can go on, like I said, your Instagram page, there's things that you can, there's platforms like this where you think, I can turn to that person and, you know what, it might not be, like you said, with everything you went through. Now, someone might not go, it might not even be a similar situation, but the end result's what they want.
Yeah.
So there's always elements to a situation where you think, I can relate to that. I can relate to the fact that he might not wanted to have known this person. He might not wanted to have that's how I feel.
Yeah.
And how did you get... So then they can question and ask you, well, how did you get through this? How did you get past it? To which then, it might be as simple as saying, do you know what? I just went and spoke to my pal. Or I sat down with my mum, my dad was out, and I just had a heart attack, I broke down and I was in tears and I was, you know, you don't know, but it was enough for you. And it might not necessarily work for them, but it's a foot in the right step. You know, to just understand that you don't have to do this. It's really weird. You don't have to do this alone, which women have been told for years. You know, and not taking that away from anything, because, you know, you've got to think, you know, when a woman gets pregnant, or, you know, the emotional side to females is heightened once a month.
Yeah.
You know, unfortunately, we don't feel that. We don't have to go through that, which sometimes I don't think it would be a bad thing. To just actually go through that and just be like, I just want a good cry for no reason. I want to eat chocolate and watch Bridget Jones's Diary, and it's fine because it's going to come around once a month. You know, so they've developed a natural immune system to be able to cope with that. They might not cope with it great. You know, as I said, it's different for everyone and different monthly, if you know what I mean. It is. You know, anyone that's ever lived with a woman knows it becomes different. But as men, you learn to understand how to, like, my missus needs leaving alone.
Yeah.
I'll let her calm down. My missus needs a hug.
Yeah.
You know, my missus doesn't want me near her, but she wants a nice cup of tea. You know, so if you learn to open up, and that's the thing, taking that first step of learning to open up, finding the right person who's going to understand, who's going to talk to you. You know, you don't want that one pal that's always, you know, I find myself quite funny, but I know when to take the mickey and when not to. You don't want that one person, like, you know, you're quite entertaining yourself. We always have a good laugh and a bit of banter, right? But if you're coming in for a trim and it's that one day where you're having to think, I'm not going to sit again, you're a bit of a miserable prick today, what's wrong with you? Because you notice there's something wrong.
You learn to
He's not right. Now you need to get past that step of, how do I read this situation? Do I leave him alone and just let him be from him? Or do I ask him if he's all right? Or do you want to chat? You know, you need to learn to read that situation, because as soon as you can read that situation as well, you can start to understand your own situations a bit more, because you'll know then, I want to be left alone, but I need someone to ask me.
Yeah.
I need someone. Are you all right? And it might not necessarily, like I said, your missus or someone who's really close. It could be anything, and that's what works well in the barbers. But someone's on that level, they're just like, you all right, mate? No, I ain't. Cup of coffee, have a glass of water.
Do you know what my sort of turning point was when I realised that I was struggling with my mental health? Was with Big Matt, and we'd threw a bit of a house party. We were all having a drink, all having a laugh, and somebody comes out to me in the garden. It's Sam. Matt's in the kitchen. He's in a bit of a state. I said, "What are you going on about?" Big 6'3" Matt, you know, big lump that he is, bless him. I walk into the kitchen and Matt is there in floods of tears. And I'm like, what on earth is wrong with you? And he's like, you. And I was like, what? He was like, you're not right, Sam. And I was like, what are you going on about?
You're not right, Sam.
in Matt's, you know, strategic way of
I
saying
mean, I don't
things.
disagree with it. You're not right. On certain levels, let's be honest, you're definitely not right.
But he'd sat there and watched me destroying myself by not accepting that I needed some help and I needed some assistance to deal with everything that I had going on at the time. And had watched me deplete to half of the man that I was.
Yeah.
And he couldn't cope with sitting there watching me. So a few beers in, and he let all his emotion out on it. And I sat there and I thought to myself, wow, is this really what's going on right now? Am I really having this effect on people that are close to me because of the fact I'm not opening up and I'm not trying to deal with my issue? I'm just going on a self-destruct spiral.
Man. See, mine was when I split up with my ex, and I moved away. I moved out. I moved to my sister's for a little bit, and it was my choice. We grew apart, so I made the decision because I didn't want my kids to be miserable. I didn't want them to grow up in that sort of household. So, and not that they would have, but I was like, you know what, it's only going to get worse. I made a decision, moved out, went to my sister's. Now, me and my sister, we show each other emotion. She'll tell me, I'll tell her how proud I am of her. She'll say the same things, and there's always little hints of compliments. But we're not huggers.
Yeah.
Like me and my sister don't sit there hugging. What we do is really funny. We'll take the mickey out of each other.
Yeah.
When we're upset, and obviously, for as much as I'd made the right decision that not to be with my ex, my kids are good. I'm happier. She's happier. But that moment after, there's still that guilt that runs through. Like I don't want to. You don't want to intentionally hurt someone, regardless.
Yeah.
And then there's obviously the panic of my children, and I just threw myself into work. I wasn't eating, and she started to worry to the point where, that pick me up that we do when we take the mickey out of each other, that stopped. And it was the way that how she was concerned, and it's not like it's out of character, but we have this way.
Yeah.
And that stopped, and I was like, there's something wrong. I'm not, what's the matter? And she was like, I'm just worried about it. And I'm like, no, I'll be all right. And I wasn't at the time, I didn't want to hurt my children. I didn't want to, and I accepted the fact I moved out. I didn't take anything with me. I didn't like, this is mine. I bought the TV. I did that. I walked away. That's the kids' home. Job done.
Yeah.
And it was the fact that, it's funny because after I worked it out, it wasn't the fact that I was upset about what happened with the situation. It was more, I didn't know how to be me anymore. Like I'd been dad, at the time, husband, and that's when it really clicked in that, there's this build up of like, you've got to make sure the bills are paid, you've got to do this, there's got to be this, there's got to be that. And then it was like, okay, now I've got to be me again.
Yeah.
I don't know how to be me. How do I do this? Oh my God, now I'm panicked. Now I'm worried that if I can't be me, how can I make my kids happy? How can I, it's not about spending money, but how can I spend the right amount of time on them? Because I'm now panicked and I'm big. And it was the fact that, as I said, Steph just didn't, there wasn't that banter level to pick each other up. It was more like, I'm actually quite worried about you. And I was just like, yeah, I'm worried about me too now. And it narrowed it down. I was just like, I was more worried about, like, my kids would be happy. It was when I realised that you can't make anyone in your life happy unless you are happy. Exactly. And it was working out that I need to be happy, and I'm happy with the situation because I know that in the long run this will work out. This is for the best. But it was more like, I don't know how to be happy on my own.
Yeah.
Like I don't know how do I discover me again? And it was only the fact that my sister's, it was just her reaction was just like, I need to do this. I need to be me again. And then it was after that and starting to work out, I'm actually an alright bloke. Like working out that I'm actually not a bad person. I can be happy, and in turn, I can make people happy.
Yeah.
Because I can make my kids happy. And it was a turning point where it was just like, all right, let it all out, talk to people, do that, become you again. And it was my mum. I was on the phone to my mum, as I said, called every Thursday, and she went, "There's my son," and I was like, "What?" She goes, "I haven't heard you for years.
Yeah.
You've not been stupid, silly. She goes, you're a bit of an arsehole, but you're funny because you're my arsehole." And I was like, "What?" And she was like, "But you're hearing it.
Yeah.
I can hear you again. You're stupid. You're being silly." And then it was off the strength of that. It was just like, you know what? If I've got a problem, I'm going to talk to someone. I'm going to talk to them. I'm going to turn to someone. I'm going to express myself because I don't want to lose myself again.
No.
And I think that's another issue, is especially with mental health, you do tend to lose yourself.
Oh, 100%.
And when it's gone, it's gone. And that's a real uphill struggle to do it on your own without the right support or the right backing. It's not an easy job.
No. I'm a very happy-go-lucky guy. You very rarely see me without a smile. But some days, that is a real struggle to be able to walk around with that smile on my face.
Yeah.
And I know deep down that's me. I'm a happy guy in general. But you just find yourself so overwhelmed sometimes, and you get back to that stage of where you lose yourself.
Yeah, and I think that was now, like with Nush, when we sort of got together and then took it to that step where it was just like, "Oh my God, I love you too." There were things that were implicated. I'm not going to lose myself.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to, and I even explained, I don't want her to never be not her. I want her to be herself, because the minute that starts to deplete and you start losing that, you're on a slow decline where you again, and then you're not looking out for you, so you're not going to be happy, and in turn you're not going to make someone else happy. And that's why we still have stupid conversations. I think Highlander's a really good film, for instance. She'll do nothing but rip the shit out of it. She won't watch it anymore because she thinks it's stupid. I also had a go at her for never watching Labyrinth. She never watched Labyrinth as a kid.
I can't agree that Labyrinth is a good film.
It was when you were a kid, but it's more the fact, I do understand that David Bowie looks a bit strange now in those leggings, but it was as a kid. Great film. So, but we'll have those every day, no matter what's going on or how upset one of us is, or if there's something not just gone right, for instance. there'll be a moment in every day that we do that we'll make each other smile and we just have a giggle. And it has to happen.
Yeah.
No matter what. It has to happen. No matter what comes through or how upsetting the situation might be, there will be a point in that day where you'll just be like, okay, have to smile.
Yeah.
You have to make a joke. Say something stupid or say something stupid. Take the mickey out of me. You're the only person that's technically allowed to, and we'll get away with it.
Exactly.
So do it, and we laugh and we giggle, and then you might go back to being a bit down or a bit upset. But there's a point where you think, like, it's having someone that literally fully understands you and accepts you for you, and being able to think, and then again, that then turns into being able to express yourself.
Yeah.
I don't need to lose myself. To which I don't need to bottle anything up.
No.
Job done.
No, you can express your emotion, but
Yeah,
cheers you up at the same time.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a massive thing, mate.
And
She's a good girl.
We'll make sure that you're not just, I'm all right. And it's, again, the more you express and the more you're silly with each other and the more that you talk, we'll appreciate every single moment of it.
Yeah.
We'll just make sure you're all right. We'll send a stupid message like, do you know what, thanks for yesterday. What did I do? I didn't do anything. You did more than what you, and vice versa. Just telling that person that the silly things that you do is fully appreciated because you don't feel you have to hold anything back then. And it just makes it's a relief from pressure. You feel like there is a weight constantly lifted. So when the bad things do come, or when the things are a little bit more upsetting or a bit more, you're more equipped to deal with it.
Yeah.
Because regardless of what happens, there's someone that's constantly got your back.
Reunited front.
You're a team. That's it. It's not just, regardless of wife, mother, lover, and all that other things, there's an element where you pals, your buddies, it's like she's got your back, you've got hers. So all the other things that are just bonuses on top of that, someone has your back.
Yeah.
They've got your back, no matter what. And no matter how, even if they don't agree with, you've come home angry, you've come home that, and she'll be like, well, instead of telling you need to calm down, she'll understand.
Yeah.
She'll have your back. Then when you get to a normal level, she'll literally rip into you. You're an idiot, but she'll have someone that has your back. And I think that is what is a key element to men's health issues now, knowing that someone's got your back. And the fact is, it doesn't have to. I'm lucky enough and honoured enough that my missus does.
Yeah.
Some people, it is their parents or their dad or their mum, or they've got a brother or sister and uncle. But it's not necessary that it has to be that person.
No.
Like I said, there's platforms like yourselves now that will be like, you're there to have that person's back. And it works. So if you do still, as I said, it was years of development of being able to just express yourself to someone that you love. Because like I said, you don't want to be, again, goes back to not wanting to be a burden. So if you're not comfortable yet, instead of bottling it up, you can turn to these sort of platforms.
Yeah.
And they're a massive help. They are a relief.
Exactly. That's what it's here for at the end of the day. So going on from that conversation then, what is one change that you think could come into barbering to help with men's mental health? Put you on the spot here.
It's a hard one because I don't know what I would actually change. Because, when it gets to a point where my customers or my gents that then turn into my pals are comfortable enough to talk to me, then let rip.
Yeah.
I'm not here to judge. So maybe, okay, so I worked in a salon once and in St Albans, and they'd done a really cool, and it was just a sticker. So there was an organisation called Clive. So it was to express that it wasn't just barbers. There were shops all up and down to express that it was a gay-friendly business. You're not here to be judged on your sexuality or your lifestyle or anything like that. You are more than welcome in it. If you don't feel comfortable in there, you are more than happy to express yourself, to say that you don't feel comfortable. And it was just fantastic. And it was just a sticker. But by seeing that there was something displayed, you felt comfortable walking in there. Considering it's not like it was, especially when I was younger and even in generations before, where, if you were gay, male or female, you couldn't go to a certain pub, you couldn't go to a certain place, you couldn't go here, you couldn't go there. So I think, especially with people's sexuality now, it's moved forward massively. You don't have to go to a gay bar or a gay club. You are more than welcome to go wherever you want.
Yeah.
And it's publicly advertised that you can go to. It doesn't. It's like me refusing to do someone's hair because of their sexuality or their race. It's never going to happen. I don't care, and not in the fact that I don't care. I just don't care. I will judge you on you. I don't want you. My friend Abby actually said once, she doesn't want to be recognised as Abby the lesbian. She's just Abby. The way she dresses, what car she drives, the way she acts, the food she eats. You met Abby. I made you spend
Abby's wicked.
30 million days with her at my stand when I was extremely drunk. But she was explaining to my 13-year-old, because he asked her about certain things, and she was just like, "How do you look at me?" And he was like, "Well, you're Abby." She says, "That's enough. I just want to be Abby. I don't drive a certain
There's so much to Abby."
Yeah, but there is so much to Abby. But she didn't want to drive a certain...
However, don't get to talk about F1.
Yeah, no, you never shut her up. She didn't want to... She didn't want to be looked at, or the car she drives. She doesn't drive it because she's lesbian. She doesn't wear the clothes she does because she does it because she's comfortable enough in who she is.
Yeah.
Which was great, because nowadays that's how it should be. And the fact that this organisation just had a sticker on a shop window to know that shop had your back because of your sexuality, didn't care. You're comfortable and you're welcome in there. So maybe even to the point where you would have something displayed where it would become popular enough or known enough that if I want to walk in that shop and I want to express myself to someone, or I don't want to talk, you're more than welcome to. So it's all well and good, like as I said, me getting to know someone and then they open up. But if they felt that they saw something displayed, not necessarily, you don't want to advertise it so you've got like a wall memorial saying, if you're having problems, come in and check.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to necessarily express straight off the bat with someone you don't know necessarily.
No, exactly.
But something that could be displayed maybe to just so you feel if you have got an issue or you do want to talk, that person's going to listen. They're not going to judge you on it. You're more than welcome to come in. If you want to sit here and be quiet, well, fair enough. I'm still going to trim you around. I'm going to give you, a trim, the best trim I could possibly give you. If you want to come in here and rant to me, you're not judged. You're not. So you never know. Maybe something that's, as I said, slightly just displayed, and not just for barbers, for coffee shops, for anywhere that you think like, I won't go in there. I don't want to go in there. I don't want to go. Oh, I'm not going in there. So I think it would work quite well.
It's an awesome idea. I really, really like the idea of that.
Get a big beard on there.
Yeah.
Get the sand.
Big ginger beard.
Big ginger beard. Yeah. The Viking beard, so people know. It is. It's just. It's like walking around with a Pride t-shirt on and feeling like I'm proud of who I am.
Yeah.
The fact that you're made to feel comfortable in your own skin. So if there was something, a symbol, it doesn't have to be massive. Like the American Express or the little shop. Something that's just displayed enough that says, if I want to talk to him, I'm not going to be judged. I'm not going to be, I'm not going to be hounded. I'm not going to be made to feel like there's something wrong with me. Because that's the other issue. Because, as soon as someone says mental health or anything else, instantly, as a bloke, there's something wrong with you.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with you.
No.
At all.
No, exactly that. There's such a stigma around that
there's
word.
Nothing wrong with you at all.
To be fair, that's why I'm trying to, a little bit of a promo drop. That's why I'm trying to get away from the word mental health in my book, and I'm going for mental well-being.
Yeah.
Well-being is it's not got that stigma, it's got a much softer tone to it, whereas mental health just has that sharpness.
Yeah, so it's like, I think people need to say it's like, so when someone tells you to have a healthy diet,
yeah,
and you've got to have a healthy diet, but I'll have McDonald's, I had a massive Chinese on Sunday, went to a buffet, at least 5 plates worth of rubbish, and then chocolate, and then pudding afterwards. Now, is it good for me? No. Am I ill because on that day my diet wasn't balanced? It wasn't a healthy diet.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden, because I enjoyed a Chinese, does that put my health? Am I now unhealthy?
No, of course not.
I'm not unhealthy. I've got a balanced diet.
Yeah.
So even if it was like men's mental balance, which sounds really weird, just to balance out your emotions to how you feel to all that. Because again, like you said, as soon as that word health dropped in there, there's something wrong with you.
Yeah.
And a lot of the time, 90% of not just men, people do not want to admit there's something wrong with them.
No, exactly.
You don't want to admit, but there's nothing wrong with you.
No, you're just having a bad day.
You're having a bad day, a bad week, a bad day. You're
Yeah.
dealing with something that you don't normally or want to deal with, and that's again, it's not a problem. It's not. It's not like, oh no, I'm dealing with this. You don't have to. And the fact is, with, like, as I said, with platforms like yourself, where you book, with it, as it comes out, you know, it's knowing that I don't have to deal with this on my own. I don't have to deal with it all at once. There's ways about it where I'm fine. I'm not just fine. I'm all right. I am all right today, but I could be better. But it doesn't mean because I'm all right today that there's something seriously wrong, because there's nothing wrong with any of it.
Exactly that, mate. Exactly that. Well, an absolutely amazing first episode. Thank you very much for coming on today.
Yeah, no, you're more
much
welcome.
appreciated.
It's been fun.
Is there any way that our listeners and viewers can find you on social media?
No, there's Wayne at Burn Salon on my Instagram. I have sorted out a TikTok because someone said to do it, but I'm really not that great at it. As I said, and then Burn Salon as well, their Instagram, they're more than welcome to find that, and that keeps us updated of what we're doing, like collection-wise, work-wise, and just the fun we have in the shop, to be honest with you.
That's brilliant, mate. Thank you very much today, and thank you all for listening. If you do want to get in touch, if you've got questions for me, if you've got questions for Wayne, please feel free to drop us a message on either of our Instagrams. The book will be dropping around the 30th of January as well, so keep an eye out for that as well, and we'll see you on the next one.
See you later.